Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Agent Power Huddle Scripting Fridays. Every Friday, we go through the words that compel and the words that help you win. And I'm just a big believer that if you can get to the point in your career where you kind of can pull a string and know exactly what to say in every circumstance, you're going to play ball with a lot more confidence. So that's what we do here. Today, we're actually going to talk about the takeaway close. And it's kind of an advanced technique. A lot of people know of it, but not very many people are good at it. So by the end of this half hour, you guys are all going to be great at it. So let's dive in, shall we? Share my screen. Pull up my slide deck. Computer's slow. Probably because I have 180 tabs open. You guys like when I talk to myself? All right. So, if you're new to this meeting, my name's Ed Laine. I'm a broker with EXP out of the Seattle market. I've been in the business since 1987. So I know I look 20, but I'm actually quite older. I have had over 3,000 successful sales. I was also a loan officer and lender for 30 plus years and had over 5,000 mortgages. So I just have a ton of experience, and I try and share that with all of you guys and gals. So who has heard of the takeaway close? Have any of you actually heard that term before? Yep, Lisa's nodding. Shalise, how about you? No? All right, here we go. So first, let's start with kind of who the avatar is that you would use this with. And the kind of three most common typically revolve around either investor mentality or think that they're savvy, right? It's the guy or gal that says, I'd love to work with you and add you to my stable of 7 other realtors or whatever it is, right? And I don't know about you, but I only work exclusively with people. And here in Washington State, our buyer brokerage services agreement has a checkbox, exclusive or non-exclusive. I literally never check non-exclusive, because if somebody insists on that, that's when I do the takeaway close. And I'm not the guy for you. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's the beauty of this industry. And I know it's hard when you're just starting out to say, I can choose to work with anyone and not work with anyone I want, but you have that ability from day one. So if you come across an asshole, punt. Like, you don't have to work with them, right? But usually what'll happen is you'll generate a buyer lead, you'll meet with that buyer lead. And we covered my buyer presentation last week. So if you didn't see that, go into the library and just watch that video. I go through in great detail what I do, what I say, and how I get people to sign 100% of the time for 17 years, not just since the NAR settlement. I've been doing buyer brokerage agreements since 2007, so 18 years now. And I get them signed 100% of the time. Watch that video if you want to learn how. But in this instance, it could be somebody that says, I want to work with you and 7 other people. And that's when I invoke the takeaway close, right? So the normal scenario is the meeting goes well. If you follow my process, it definitely goes well. And then the buyer puts the brakes on the minute you pull out the contract, right? The first thing I want you to remember is we don't use the word contract, right? In that video I just mentioned, you'll hear me say, this is the agreement that holds me accountable to my 12 promises. We have a VIP buyer addendum that you'll see in that video where it's 12 service commitments. And there are probably a lot of them that you do already, right? We just put it in writing and we frame it as these are my 12 promises. And this is the agreement that holds me accountable to perform those 12 promises. And they want the stuff that's in the 12 promises. So what have I done with that dialogue? Well, I pivoted the whole arrangement, right? If you genuinely, I'm going to stop sharing so I can just look at people. If you think about buyer brokerage service agreements and how little they were used until today, it's because the fear, right? It's the fear that brokers have that I don't want to ask a buyer to do something where they might say no, right? And I think they're more likely to say no if they feel like it's a set of handcuffs, right? But when I say this is the agreement that holds me accountable, who's putting the handcuffs on? Me, right? So they feel like, I want this thing signed around so that he has to do what he just said he was going to do. And by the way, you'll learn this in the other video. I started by giving them a cancellation agreement, which allows them to get out of the buyer brokerage agreement anyway. So they feel more comfortable to begin with. But then when I reframe it as a handcuff set on me, then they feel way more comfortable signing it. Does that make sense? All right. I'm going to get back to the guy that's mean, right? So if they say, I understand that you're good at this, or I want to work with you, but I also want to keep the other 6 or 7 or 12 or 80 that I've already connected with, right? Then you have a decision to make. You can jump in and say, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm going to outperform them, outwork them, and you're going to love me anyway. I know agents that do that. Or you can try and filter it a little more, right? So here are sorry, people keep knocking and it's messing up my, here are the 4 objection handlers that you can use. And you can use them all. You can pick one that you like and use it only. It's up to you, right? But they go like this. What if it's a tie, right? Let me ask you a question. So this is the scenario is a buyer who said, I want to work with 7 people, right? Let me ask you a question. Let's say a new property comes out and it hits all 7 brokers' emails at the same time. And one broker sends it to you in 2 minutes. And the second place guy sends it in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Who are you going to work with? And you know they're going to say, well, the guy that got it to me first. That'll be like, I'll sleep better at night and I'll feel cleared conscienced if I just go with who gets it to me first, right? Well, that's just not going to work for me. I'm sorry, right? But if 7 brokers all get it at the same time and somebody sends it to you 10 seconds faster than I do, I'm going to lose. That's not going to work, right? And here's the reason why. I can't or won't be rude to my other clients because I'm having to constantly check my phone to see if any new searches came through for your search, right? So I appreciate that you're going to respect who got it to you first, but I'm not going to play that game, right? So that's the what if it's a tie. I like the finite amount of time approach because it sort of positions me above them. Maybe it's an ego thing, but it definitely draws a distinction between the people that want to work with me and the people that don't, right? You see, I only have a finite amount of time to help clients. And I choose to help those clients that want to work with me, right? And I can go on and say, and I choose not to work with the ones that don't choose to work with me. Does that make sense? You guys probably notice I say, does that make sense? And does that sound fair? A lot. Because what I'm doing with those 2 sayings is drawing them in and getting them to think through and confirm an understanding, right? And that's powerful. So just work those into your vernacular because they're really powerful phrases, right? All right. 7 lines in the pond. This is a good one. So you're telling me that you have 7 agents and all of them are fishing in the same pond. And I say that phrase specifically, and it's a metaphor for the MLS, right? So they're all fishing in the same pond. Or you can work with me, who also has access to that pond, but I also have access to all of the other houses, like everything that's not on the market. And I'm saying this with dramatic effect because before we even got to the agreements, I already explained our off-market system. And once I'm done with these, we'll come back to that so you guys can understand how I do that and you can implement it in your business. But just think of it like this. In our MLS, in the entire state, there's like 18,000 listings. There's millions of homes, though. So it's the difference between fishing in a pond or fishing in the ocean, right? So if you can draw that analogy and help them understand that having 7 lines in the same pond is not as good as having one line that's in a much bigger pond. Make sense? Then you get to the deal breaker, right? When they say, I hear everything you're saying, I understand what you're saying, it just isn't in my plan to work with just one broker. Hey man, that's cool. I get it. And remember, if you've watched last week's video, we bring a folder. So at this point, I've got papers spread out. I start sweeping them up. And I goes, it's no big deal, no hard feelings. I'm just not the broker for you. And they go, wait, don't leave. I want access to your off-market system. Oh, well, why don't we do this? Why don't you hire me just for a week? And if you don't like how I operate, you can fire me. Remember, we started with the cancellation agreement, but I'm going to ask you to sign an exclusive representation agreement. And does that always work? No, but it's more than 50% of the time. Because, and this is probably the best time to come back to the off-market system. And it's because I've drawn such a dramatic distinction between fishing in just the MLS versus all of the homes that aren't in the MLS, right? Think of your market. Lisa, you're in Palm Springs. Think how many listings are on the market versus off. It's dramatic, right? We're talking about millions of homes. So here's how the off-market system works. We use direct mail to hammer away at neighborhoods when a buyer has shown interest in that neighborhood. Now, in my earlier numbers, I said 18,000 on market and millions off. I'm not mailing millions, but what I will do as that buyer and I are traveling around and looking at houses, and you guys have all seen this, right? They start to gravitate to one area. Once they've gravitated to that one area, I crank up a direct mail campaign. I have 2 of them running right now. Here's how I do it. So you guys implement this in your market. Have you guys ever heard of seller scores? And I'm not talking about the seller score that's in the county records. Like they've now added that in most counties. That is not a very accurate one. And I guess I shouldn't frame it as inaccurate. As 763 data points put into this algorithm, and then it assigns a score. And the data points are all of the public records. My internet is unstable, apparently. Can you guys hear me? Did you miss any of that? Okay, thank you. So it includes all the public record data points, plus how old are your kids? What level of school are they? What are your shopping habits online? It's big brother type stuff. And then it says, okay, this person is more likely or less likely to want to sell. Like it would look at me and give me I think it's a 1,000-point scale. So you get like, I'd be $9.99 because I'm in my late 50s. I live in a big house with my wife and all my kids are gone. And the computer's going to go, you need to sell, dude. They haven't met my wife. She's like, we're never moving. I go, I know. Right. But that's what the algorithm does. It looks at external factors and non-public factors, and then it spits out a score. So now back to the off-market system. If Joe and Susie Buyer have said, we really like this area, I then go to my title company and I ask them for a list of all the properties in that area. Like the neighborhood I live in is 1,150 homes. So let's say they fell in love with my neighborhood. I can pull that data of 1150. I can push it into the seller score algorithm and it'll assign a score to all of them. I then sort the list from highest score to lowest, and I cream off the top the 200 highest scores. Does anybody know why it's 200? Every door direct. That's the minimum mailing size to take advantage of the every door direct pricing, which is lower, right? So we send our letters for 59 cents a letter. Does anyone know what a first class stamp is right now? It's higher than that. But we're able to do it with the cost of printing and stuffing and everything for 59 cents. So you want to use 200 as your threshold, minimum threshold. If somebody's looking in a neighborhood that is maybe only 200 houses or 100 houses, I'll just grab the next neighborhood, because guess what? When I do this 200 piece mailing, on average, I generate 3 new leads, and I give those addresses to my client and I tell them, hey, this seller or property owner, they're not a seller yet, right? They're a property owner, has expressed an interest in being willing to sell. Before I schedule a time for you to go inside, I'd like you to drive by it and look at it from the outside. Because as you guys have all seen, sometimes buyers will dismiss a house from the street, right? So I just tell them, drive by these 3 houses, tell me which ones you'd like to see the inside. And if it's all 3, that's no problem. I'm already in direct contact with the property owner, right? They responded to my letter and they called me. If my client doesn't like it, I pivot to list. So that's why I can lump in a neighboring property if the sample is too small, because I'm just generating listing leads anyway, right? We've used this system on average to sell over 100 homes a year over the last 6 or 7 years. So can you imagine during the white hot market of 2020 and 2021, having buyer clients who could buy a house without having to bid against anyone? That was super attractive. And you might be wondering, well, yeah, but do sellers want to skip the bidding wars? Yeah, a lot of sellers felt like, man, that sounds like a nightmare. I don't care that I'm leaving money on the table. I don't want to deal with that. So we would put a deal together. So knowing what you now know about the off-market system and how that starts the VIP buyer presentation, then when I get to the end, can you see why an investor would be like, wait, don't pack up your stuff, right? So that's the takeaway close. And like I said, you can use all 4 of those dialogues in a progressive fashion and then end with the actual sweeping up of your papers. Or you can just go straight to the, like I'll kind of read the room or read the audience. And if I think I can do it without having to do all 4, I'll just say, I choose to work with people that choose to work with me, and I'll go straight to sweeping up my stuff. Does that make sense? All right. We have 10 minutes left. We always leave 10 minutes at the end, if this is your first time here, for people to ask questions about either what I've covered, or if you got a circumstance in your market right now that you need help with scripting some dialogues for it. That's what I leave the last bit for. So First thing is, any questions about the takeaway close? Suma.
Where did you get the sell score?
So I've got 12 companies that do this. The one that I really liked, unfortunately, got bought by Remax. That's the one that had the 763 data point. And so now if you're with Remax, use it. It works. The one I'm testing right now, let me answer your question with specifics. So First.io was the company that Remax bought. Revaluate is the one I'm testing now. And Revaluate, if you're with EXP, which I am, I know a few of you are, is integrated with KV Core. So when your Revaluate score changes, I get a text message that says, hey, Suma is more likely to sell. Call her.
Yeah.
Right?
In MLS, you can do that here. In MLS,
You do think you can?
yeah, we can do. But the thing is, each property you have to, find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why, it's very important, I think, that you get in the car with them for a bit first and get them to sort of narrow down. Like the best example is if you have a client that's moving from out of state and they want to see a bunch of cities, that's good. You should let them, right? But I'm not starting a mailing campaign until they tell me they've fallen in love with not only one city, but one area of a city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I can tell you guys that we have this 4-pronged attack for buyers. So our marketing and then what we actually do go in reverse order, right? So the off-market system is what we lead with in our marketing because it's such a big differentiator compared to other firms, right? Get priority access to off-market properties before they hit the MLS or the internet. Those are powerful words. But that's the last thing that I implement because the first thing I'm going to implement is looking at active listings. That's the easiest, right? It's a searchable database. The commissions are locked in. Now they're less. So here in Washington, our MLS told NAR to kick rocks. So we still have buyer brokerage commissions disclosed in the MLS. And I feel terrible for those of you that don't, because that's BS. Like that settlement took us backwards 35 years. And transparency with the consumer should be paramount. And I thank our MLS every day for prioritizing the consumer, not kissing up to a bullshit, attorney who, by the way, did you guys all see the guy that led that lawsuit, the attorney? Guess what he did after the settlement? Like the day of. He launched a real estate brokerage. A discount real estate brokerage. Look at that.
I was going to say, what color yacht did he buy?
Yeah. No, it's
And didn't the winners get like $13 each?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And it's still running ads right now on Facebook looking for more sellers that want to, go after local brokers. They went after the big guns. Now they're trying to target the mid-range or mid-size and smaller. And I used to be a broker owner. So if you're a broker owner and you want to be insulated from that, do what I did and move over to EXP. Now you don't have to worry about it.
Smart. Good idea.
What about dialogues that maybe you would be curious to know what I would say in a given circumstance? Does anybody have one of those?
I don't want to
Lisa. Lisa put her hand up.
I couldn't find my virtual hand so quickly. So
That's all right. I saw it. So you're.
this is my first time on here. Thank you so much. First organization at EXP. So I've been using a sort of a takeaway close, but I'd love to get your take on it. And I've been getting a lot of manufactured home. I've kind of restarted in my area, and it's kind of get some of the lower stuff for the lovely people, but some of it's just too inexpensive. And I just came up with a minimum commission. And so far, my takeaway close, which is like basically this is what I charge minimum. And if it doesn't work for you, I totally understand. It's a business decision I made. But it's like 5,000 for buyers, 6 for sellers because of the cost of photos and stuff like that. But I was just curious maybe how you would frame that and maybe give me another way to think about it. So
I love that. Like I'm ecstatic to hear that. I'm in Seattle, so our median is $1 million. So I don't have that problem, but I absolutely love the minimum idea. I wouldn't change it. I would just draw the contrast or draw the connection to the impact of your marketing system. Like look at your statistics and go, okay, like in my listing presentation, there's a slide and my listing presentation is on the website as well, if you want to check it out. But there's a slide that says the MLS average list price to sale price ratio is 100.4%. So 0.4%. Ed's team's average is 103.8. So we're 3.4%. We're getting our client 3.4% more money. And if you can point to that and explain why you're going to get this $6,000 back anyway, right?
yeah,
Like I've literally, when I get to that slide in my presentation, if I'm in your living room, I've had people say frequently, so your system pays for itself. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Usually I make a joke. I go, yeah, can I quote you on that in my market? And they go, yeah, sure.
So ours is 650, but there's a lot of manufactured homes here for snowbirds and stuff. I used to be in Seattle too, so for quite a while. So
Really?
Yep.
That's cool. I love Palm Springs.
Mhm.
For the golf though, not the mobile homes.
Right. Yeah. 100%. I get it. I know. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your input.
Yeah, you bet. One last thing I just want to show you guys and gals is I created a custom GPT, and if you have a ChatGPT account, even a free one, but you have to have one to get access to it, you can go to this website or go into the custom GPT and just search for my name, because I made it public and then I pointed this website at it, whatwouldEdsay.com. And I'll tell you a quick funny story. I don't think she's on here. There's a gal on my team actually, and she and I were trading messages about this counter offer she was doing. And she wrote, WWES told me to do the following. And it didn't even register. I was like, what the hell is WWE? She's like, what would Ed say? I went, oh, well, it's wrong. Like it's not perfect, but I've uploaded every slide deck from this training into it. So it's a huge knowledge base because I've been doing this for about a year now. So try it out. Let me know what you think.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're at the bottom of the hour, so thank you all for joining me. I hope you got some value out of it. Ski, good to see you too, friend. And you guys have a great rest of your day and a nice weekend.
You too. Thank you so much.
Good. Yeah.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.